Today's video is sponsored by Curology, who's kept my skin consistently clear for well over a year now. Dear Diary, you know what I've had? It. Officially. It's me, Bus Bardashian, and welcome back to Hot or Hot. And today, we've got a doozy. We'll be reviewing episode 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 8. Our queens were challenged to perform in Joan, the unauthorized Rusical following the life and career of Joan Crawford. But, you know, make it funny. And the runway category was Night of 1,000 Grace Joneses. So, as usual, we'll be going queen by queen to break down their performances as I saw them. But then after that, as a treat, we'll be doing a little analysis on what's gone wrong with this season so far, and discussing why it simultaneously feels so uneventful yet chaotic. So stay tuned for my TED Talk. But first, in the order they hit the runway tonight, Kahanna Montrese. And she, for her Grace Jones inspired look, recreated loosely a costume that Grace wore at the Diamond Jubilee concert in front of Buckingham Palace in 2012. Unfortunately, minus the iconic hula hoop that she had on this look throughout the performance. But Kahanna's look here was quite a departure from the original Grace Jones look, which was structured, futuristic, femme fatale, and had those really deep contrasts of red and black. Like, this look is 100% Kahanna Showgirls Las Vegas fantasy. And if it were just a brief for red or something, I would definitely give this look a hot. But like, for Grace Jones, for this specific look, did she capture the essence? Kind of. And with all that considered, I would give this like a warming up. And in the challenge, Kahanna opens our Rusical with early Joan Crawford from The Women. And her number is flashy, entertaining, and like, in terms of choreo, she nailed it. The dancing was tight. And her characterization in the recorded vocals was pretty good. It was really Justin, as the judges critiqued her, that face and body mismatch. For how sharp and perfect all of her dancing was, a lot of her lip syncing just kind of washed away to soft smiles or a little bit of lyric mishmashing here and there. And all things considered, I would certainly not say that this Rusical performance was bad. It was good. It just wasn't great, and so like I would give this a safe hot. And next in show, we've got Jaymes Mansfield, who on the runway, she had a little bit of an oopsie daisy tonight. This was not her best. But the look she chose to recreate was a great one. My online research tells me this was a 1979 look designed by Larry Legaspi, who apparently also did looks for like Kiss. And Grace in this look is so striking in those copper and beige tones. And you'll realize as you spend more time looking at Grace in the look, she actually is like an upside down foxtail. But James's recreation went a little fashion backwards. There are tailoring issues all over this look. There really should have been chic and svelte to her body, giving her that like a glove silhouette. And the foxtails were not dynamic like they were in the original, which just kind of made it look flat. So unfortunately, this was a But concerning her performance in the challenge, I heavily disagree with the judges' placement of Jaymes in this episode. In the Rusical, she did the general character of Faye Dunaway as Joan Crawford in Mommie Dearest. She transformed her face beautifully into the iconic Joan Crawford look, and I think she at least vocally took her performance to places that no one else did in the Rusical. But the problem was not with what Jaymes did, and more so, I think, with what she was given to work with. Like, when you take a look at her actual number, it was her in the nightgown and the other girl on stage with her. That was pretty much it. There were no props, there were no strobing disco balls, and the backing track behind her vocals was fairly dull when compared to every other track in the Rusical. There was just nowhere for this performance to go. Given the material, I think Jaymes gave a hot performance. But as we go through the rest of the Rusical performances, I just want you to think about how strikingly empty her stage was compared to every other queen. And next up, Condoleezza Muse, who lets us know in this episode that the real competition has started. And on the runway, she wears a look that is colloquially known as the Grace Jones maternity dress. And she famously wore this to a baby shower thrown at 4 a.m. at like a New York nightclub or something. But the backstory behind it is even more interesting. This look is actually a part of a 1988 collection from when she was pregnant of similarly styled postmodern geometric outfits by Jean-Paul Goude. And this collection of looks was actually meant to hide her baby bump when she was still trying to get nightclub bookings to make that money. And the thing is, this look is a lot to live up to. And while I think Kandy could have gone bigger or more wow in line with the original look, I think she did a decent job of meeting the reference halfway and presenting something that was fun, interesting, and unique for the Drag Race stage, and great for TV with all those lines, shapes, and colors. I would give this look a hot. But you know what I'm proud of every single day? My skin. And that's thanks to today's video sponsor, Curology, and their simple 3-step skincare routine. Here's how it works. First, I wash my face with Curology's Acne Cleanser, which is formulated with benzoyl peroxide to treat and help prevent acne. And it's effective, but gentle enough for everyday use. Next, I apply my custom Curology formula prescribed to me by a Curology dermatology provider. This stuff is the secret sauce that keeps my skin free of breakouts, clogged pores, and blackheads. And finally, I apply the Curology Rich Moisturizer made with hyaluronic acid and shea butter. And honestly, my skincare routine is one of my favorite parts of every single day because of how it makes my skin look and feel. And for reference, here's some comparative shots right after I did my routine in various lightings. Back when I started my Curology journey, I first noticed my breakouts were less frequent and less severe after just a couple of weeks. And as those breakouts mostly went away, I also began to notice improvements in my skin's fine lines, tone, texture, and even a reduction in my forehead's excessive oiliness. Remember though, your results may vary, and Curology isn't a miracle working product, but it's definitely brought a level of consistency to my skin that I truly value. Plus, if anything pops up, I just throw on a Curology emergency spot patch and it's pretty much gone overnight. Starting your Curology journey is as simple as clicking the link in the description of my video. And then on their site, you'll take a quick quiz to assess your skincare needs and upload 3 selfies. Then a dermatology provider will take a look at everything and prescribe you a custom formula and custom skincare routine to work alongside it. And if you've ever got questions about your skincare routine, a dermatology provider is just one click away in the Curology portal messages tab, where, by the way, you can also easily manage your upcoming shipments and try out new products like my personal favorite, the Curology sunscreen. It melts right in, doesn't make me break out, and doesn't make me look greasy. And actually, I'm wearing it right now. So what are you waiting for? Start your Curology journey today by clicking the link in the description of my video. Thanks Curology for sponsoring today's video and keeping my skin consistently clear. Concerning the Rusical, so we are reminded this episode that in Kandy's original season 13, the Rusical is what almost sent her home before she was double saved with Simone. But this time around, Rupaul's fickle finger of fate had something else in mind. In the Rusical, she plays the No More Wire Hangers Joan Crawford, which she not only demanded from the rest of the cast, but did fairly win in an audition against Jessica Wilde, if we are indeed believing that these auditions are real and not just workroom TV conflict moments. I've watched too much Drag Race. But hey, live up to expectations, she absolutely does. In fact, I would say she hit a home run in this performance. Her choreo was tight, the characterization was fun. Like, this was a big, flashy number with tons of choreo, props, backup dancers, to a strobing disco ball above her head playing a thumping, disco-inspired number behind her vocals. And again, compare that to what Jaymes had. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyways, yes, I would give Kandy a hot in this performance for definitely stepping up to the plate, but I digress. Next up, Jessica Wilde. And on the runway, if looks could kill, this look would. And this look was originally worn by Grace Jones in the 1985 James Bond movie, A View to Kill. And this purple silky waterfall of a gown is just scrumptious on Jessica. It hugs every curve, and I love the hood. I love the different hair that she has under that hood. Really everything about this is just so beautiful on her and perfectly in homage to the OG look. This look is hot. And in the Rusical, she ends up with Faye Dunaway, Mommie, Dearest, bringing me the axe, Joan Crawford. And in rehearsals, there was one particular moment which stood out to me, and which I think one of the directors was asking Jessica like what this scene meant. And she replies, "I know she got crazy because she loves her job." And you know, she wasn't wrong. But concerning her actual number, it was another wild number, super flashy, and this time rock and roll inspired, which you may realize is a interesting coincidence considering Jessica Wilde's 80s glam rock aesthetic that she consistently uses in her drag. And it was at this point when I was watching the episode on my Patreon at patreon.com/BussyQueen that I had the thought, these parts were probably given to the queens from the outset, and the illusion of them choosing was all for show. But that's just a theory. A drag theory. But back to Jessica. She was funny, her characterizations were good, and because the performance was in the style of rock, she didn't necessarily need to hit some of those tighter choreos that were done by the earlier queens. And overall, I'd say her performance was pretty hot. But the judges do praise her performance as phenomenal, which again, I would agree she was good, but I probably would have placed her safe this episode instead of where they seemingly placed her as almost a winner. Bring me the ass. But on to LaLa Ri, whose drag, we learned this episode, was apparently originally inspired by Grace Jones. But unfortunately for LaLa, her story arc of Grace Jones' inspiration ends this episode with RuPaul telling her that her look reminds her of Batman. She chose to recreate this look, which appears to be a moon plaster mask that reveals to sunglasses and a big giant silky ruffled bow behind her head. And you know, LaLa's recreation of this look isn't terrible. It's just not as expensive looking or couture feeling in the way that Grace's is. Like that choice of PVC or vinyl that she used to make a lot of this look, complete with red laces and straps on the back of the look, just brought it to a little bit of like a Pleaser's special dancer type of costume instead of high fashion. And like on a stage in the club, this would be fun. But on the main stage of RuPaul's Drag Race, where there are a million lights and cameras zooming in on every pore, you can really see the tiny details that don't do this look a lot of favors. So I'm gonna give this look a And in the challenge, LaLa is doing Mildred Pierce Joan Crawford, which she actually won an Academy Award for in 1945. The more you know. And this number is a sort of voguing number, or maybe Vogue-ish. I'm not sure if Aja has evaluated this yet, but it's fun. And LaLa absolutely nails everything about the performance. It was really tight and snappy with the slaps that she mimes with the backup dancers. And she got these really crazy facial characterizations, like with the big eyes that she does, that add a level of comedy and smart to her performance. This definitely gets a hot from me. And next up, I have one question. Who is Alexis Michelle?
Who is Alexis Michelle?
She has recreated maybe one of Grace's most recognizable looks from the catalog of fashion over the years. This is something she wore to the 25th Grammys in 1983. And the look is very androgynous warrior princess. I think it's a great pick that represents a lot of different facets of Grace Jones' fashion over the years. Plus, I think Alexis's recreation was phenomenal. She absolutely nailed the details of what the look at least appears to be made out of in her recreation. Like, she didn't appear to cut any corners or use cheaper materials, and it all looked very expensive on her, and honestly is one of my favorite things I've ever seen her wear on the runway. And like, I know she loves an 80s prom queen gown, but I think she needs to take more risks. This look is hot. And concerning what she did in the challenge, let's all remember that this is what Alexis Michelle lives, breathes, sleeps, and like thinks about. This is her gig. This was her challenge to win. But she didn't, despite giving what I thought was a stellar performance. And she took the role of Faye Dunaway, Mommie Dearest, don't F with me fellas, girl boss. And it was really funny listening to Alexis confidently and without stutter talking about this role. She goes, "It's a risk, but I'll take it. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but I'll take one for the team." And like, truly, for any other queen in this cast, this number would have been a setup for failure. The lyrics were boom, 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 boom. She was a million words a minute and doing this wild country style cowboy boot square steppin' tap dancing situation thing that she nailed every single step to with a perfect characterization the entire time. Like, she did not break character, not once in the musical. She did not miss a step. She did not miss a lyric. She did not miss a facial expression. She killed this musical. Hands down. Like, it was almost like they gave her something so needlessly overcomplicated that they thought surely they could catch her slipping, but couldn't. And I was not only shocked, but also appalled when they called her as safe for this. But more on that in a minute. Alexis in this musical was calm, collected, poised, talented, yada, yada, yada. And finally, oh wow, it's Jimbo, who at the beginning of this episode has a little emotional moment, recognizing she is now 0-6 for lip syncs across her many different Drag Race franchise experiences. Concerning though what she wore on the runway tonight, this was a 1989 look from what W Magazine reports as a night out in New York City for Grace Jones. Casual. And the original is a stunning cage dress with black straw hat that is showing all these little peekaboos of skin, maybe a little more scandalo back in 89 than today, but I think fashionably definitely stands the test of time. And Jimbo's recreation of the look is also stellar. And it's nice, right, to be reminded of all the different aspects in drag that she can adapt to. And this isn't necessarily new to see from Jimbo. We did see her do something really high fashion and forward thinking with her Celine Dion look back on Canada's Drag Race. 50 Shades of Jimbo. And I also love that this look added some flavor and drag context to what was going on. Instead of the black straw hat, it's like a hat made of hair. That's her wig. Really, really cool detail. This look is absolutely hot. And in the challenge, she gets Haggard Joan Crawford near the end of her career in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which maybe was last referenced on Drag Race and All Stars 2, I think. The dua. Thematically, this number very much aligned with who we know Jimbo to be as a lip-syncing, choreographed performer in the sense that she's really not that. And she did struggle a little bit on stage, but vocally, I thought she excelled. And there's plenty of comedic undertone to how she was acting that out. It was just while she was dancing that I think there were some missteps, but when she would flip to doing like spoken word as Joan Crawford on the same stage, it was like all of a sudden she lit up and was that crazy, comedic, amazing actor that she is. But the main part of her performance, I would say, lacked a huzzah. I would give this like a soft rot, but truly I am doing hots and rots here on like a bell curve. I mean, nobody did bad. This was a great Rusical. Definitely some rewatchability in there. I laughed, I cried, I cheered, I screamed. But concerning the judges flipping coins and rolling die for placements this episode, we've got Jaymes and Kahanna in the bottom two, which Kahanna I can see, but instead of Jaymes, I probably would have put Jimbo there. It felt like Jaymes wanted to do a lot with her performance, but just couldn't because she just was given nothing. And her winner chicken dinner this episode was given not to Broadway legend and thespian superstar Alexis Michelle, but to Kandy Muse. And yes, I think Kandy did great, but in my personal opinion, Alexis deserved the win there. But I'll elaborate on that shortly. So Kandy Muse lip syncs against our lip sync assassin this week, Angeria VanMichaels. And she, as lip sync assassin, I thought looked gorgeous, loved the hair, loved the outfit. And in the lip sync, let's just say Kandy had a fire under her ass. She wanted that win more than I think, at least this season, we have seen any queen want a win. Like, girl, she went hard in that lip sync. She was hot in that. It was a very sexy performance. And Angeria did good as well. I thought it was just, tonight I wanted Kandy. And Kandy wins the lip sync, and the gag of the season is she pulls out James's lipstick. Send home. And that's RuPaul's Drag Race. And now for my explanation of what I'm perceiving to be some problems with All Stars 8 so far. So from the lens of production, it's like for this season, the producers just sat down and overproduced the last shreds of what used to be a reality TV television competition into contrived reality television. For example, it seems the producers are prioritizing these story arcs for queens across their seasons over actually giving placements in challenges that make sense. Like when they gave LaLa a top placement in the ball to seemingly come full circle on her golden boot that she got for the bag ball look from her original season. But I think everyone has pretty much agreed it should have been Heidi in the top. And we've got similar things happening like in this episode. We saw them stringing together the I did bad in my original season and now I'm doing great in this All Stars season as a redemption for Kandy Muse, and then dismissing Alexis as safe after that amazing performance, I would guess, in an attempt to try to recreate the Jan face crack Rusical moment. And then we've got the other interesting element of knowing that Kandy Muse, if she won a challenge in lip sync, she would allegedly send home the stronger competition, which I think very easily explains why Jimbo was spared from the bottom and instead called out as safe this episode. Ru is not about to have Jimbo get panginaed a second time. Instead, though, we see Jaymes go home, which makes almost no sense in the context of the episode. She's being told like at every turn that she's doing a great job and she's entertaining and she's funny. And then boom, sent home. And I would also argue another problem from the lens of the producers in this season is these first 5-6 episodes have been so balanced towards comedy. And it feels like queens who might be stronger in looks or performance don't have a chance. I'm not saying they don't, I'm just saying statistically, it's like, how are they gonna catch up? And the queens are seeing episode after episode, strange arbitrary placements that are probably making them feel like nothing matters. Like, Heidi clearly had enough. Next episode, we've got Kahanna talking about leaving, because girl, guess what? It's another comedy challenge. And most of them don't seem to be willing or wanting to play the producers' games. It just makes the episodes feel a little empty when there's only like 2 of the queens in the cast participating in the whole reality TV drama aspect of this show. RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 8 is uneventful chaos, and I kind of like it. But we're only halfway through and it could get better. That's all I've got for you, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. And don't forget, you can help support the Bussy Queen channel by clicking the link in the description of this video to join my Patreon today. Patreon members get exclusive member benefits like early access to my YouTube videos, access to reaction videos, access to the Bussy Queen Discord server, and more. Your support would mean the world to me, and I'd love to see you there. And quickly, let's do hottest hots. In the Rusical, I'm gonna give it to Alexis, and on the runway, Alexis. I also asked my patrons to vote in their hottest hots over at patreon.com/BussyQueen, and they voted for LaLa and Alexis Michelle. And finally, I want to remind you to check out today's video sponsor, Curology. Just click the link in the description of this video to start your Curology journey today. And I want to give an extra special shout out to Joe Gotti, who just joined my Patreon at the hot tier, and Ashley Brungart, Dorothy Hall, Felicia, Frankie, Jeffrey, Seth, Matthew Burns, Matto, Panda Kitty, Sailor, Sharkies, Steven Topher, Tyler Hendricks MD, really, and Will and Tenna, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Green Collector tier. See y'all later. Love ya. Bye.